We're on the Country versus Metal podcast with Micky from Micky and the Motorcars.
Hey, hey. How
What's
is
going on?
everybody? Yeah, great, man. How
Yep,
are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I have to be honest. For a couple of videos, I said moto cars
Yeah.
for a while, and I'm like, and it was funny is I went down to mile zero, and I had realized it. And I was talking to Pablo. I'm like, dude, I don't know why I said it like that, and he's like, yeah, it's motor cars. And I was like, oh,
Oh, that's funny.
yeah,
Well, the more you know.
yeah. But what's crazy is I obviously I Google everybody that comes on, and would the Brauns be considered the first family of red dirt?
Man, I never really thought about it that way. Maybe. Uh, I'd have to, yeah, I think maybe we would be. The two separate bands with, full family, two
Yeah,
brothers in each band. Maybe we are the founding members of the family of Red Dirt.
yeah. You guys been doing it since you were kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We started, I was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson when I was 6.
Oh my
And
god.
it's funny. I just got back from my daughter Hattie's ballet, and she was doing a little recital tonight, and she's 6. And it was funny because all the little kids running around and everything. And I was like, somebody asked me like, "Did you do any of this kind of stuff when you were her age?" And I was like, a little different scale, but yeah, I guess so.
That's such a flex. That's amazing. I didn't know that. That's huge.
Yeah, it was funny though, because I mean, now, like I say, looking back, I remember my dad coming home and telling us that we were going to LA to be on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and I was, who? We grew up without TV, so I had no idea who Johnny Carson was. The Tonight Show, Jay Leno, didn't know any of that, so it was kind of it was just a fun experience to fly to LA and be on a TV show, and then obviously as I got older, figured out that it was a lot bigger deal than I knew it was at the time.
Yeah, dude, that's incredible. Like, is there anything that could like make you have stage fright after a
Yeah,
lifetime?
I don't really get nervous. I never really have, but every once in a while, get a little bit of butterflies if you're going out to do a real big show or something like that. But it's usually about 30 seconds of, just, it's more the anticipation of right before you walk on stage. And then once I'm out there, I'm usually pretty locked in.
Yeah, just right at home.
Yeah, just, have fun and do what I've been doing my whole life. So it's pretty good. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm above it, because it could definitely hit you. We got to do a show that was a tribute to a good friend of ours, Keith Gaddis, and I was out on stage singing in the same mic with George Strait about a year ago, and I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know if it was nerves or if it was just excitement, one of the two, but it was definitely me. The knee was shaking a little.
Yeah, that's always good though, because it's still, after all these years, still a passion, still something you love to do.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a daily job that most people, they only see on stage, But so there's a lot of back behind the scenes stuff that we have to do, and but for the most part, I wouldn't go back in time and trade it for anything else. I still love traveling, and I still love going to different cities and all over the country and the world, and it's just kind of what I love to do. I love writing songs, and love playing them for people that want to listen to them.
Yeah, it's funny. I was telling Steve right before we jumped on. After a playlist ends, it just plays random music, and a song came on, and I was like, "Oh, is this Cody Canada?" And it was Micky and the Motorcars. It was you singing, and I was like, "Oh wow!" I was like, "I never." It was pretty cool. Maybe it's just that I guess you guys have the same kind of tone and the same delivery. kind of a way, but it was really cool just to be like, man, that's because obvious. I know
Yeah.
you guys have done it. I mean, you were probably Steve was saying you guys were open up for them back in
Yeah.
the early days, right?
Yeah. Shannon, Cody's wife, she was our manager for 9 years when we first moved down to Austin, Texas, and so she put us on a hundreds of shows with those guys. We toured all over with them, and then after they broke up, we still tour with Departed, and we've kind of developed a brotherhood over the years, and yeah, we hang out all the time when we can, and when we're off the road, and when we're on the road, we still try and do tours together. And Gary, my older brother Gary, and I went out with Cody about a year and a half ago. We went and did a full acoustic run, kind of up the Midwest and East Coast for about 2 weeks. And just the three of us played every night, just kind of doing a song swap thing, and it was a blast. But that was the last long tour that we did with Cody, but with the Ragweed guys, doing some stuff again. Hopefully, we'll get to jump on stage with them at some point.
Yeah, I love the brotherhood of everything.
Yeah,
Like I didn't know Shannon managed you. It's just always it just still always just blows my mind is just how like close knit and just how close everybody is. And man, you guys have been friends for years and years and years, and like people that grew up in like a neighborhood together can't even say that.
yeah. I know it's pretty wild. It's funny when you're talking to either fans or just other people that are coming up in bands or whatever, and they're like, "So you guys, how long have you been around?" It's like this is starting our 25th year in June, so
Wow.
we are been around for a long time, and it is weird to think about that. More than half my life, I've known most of these bands in the Texas Red Dirt scene, and like I say, yeah, they're all pretty much family at this point, which is something that a lot of people, yeah, like you say, can't say about their old pal that they used to hang out with in high school.
Yeah, it's definitely incredible. Now, from seeing you've been in the scene for such a long time, does the term red dirt does it mean the same as it did when you first started out to from now?
Um, Red Dirt actually kind of, from my memory bank, um, is that kind of started shortly after Texas Country. Like I feel like, and I may have just missed that, but I feel like they were kind of calling all the Pat Greens and Reckless Kelly, those guys that were all kind of. But I was in Texas, so that's probably why they were calling it Texas Country. Then I mean, immediately started hearing Red Dirt because that's when obviously Ragweed and Stoney and all those guys started kind of more Oklahoma boys were doing their thing as well, as long as everybody else. I hadn't heard the Red Dirt thing until I started hearing the Texas Country, because everyone always would ask us, "What's your genre? What's your genre?" And we just always said country rock. And then the Texas Country thing kind of took, you know, took flight. So we just kind of started saying that because people could relate to it. And then the Red Dirt thing, and we just all just I feel like we all just kind of joined forces, and I feel like it's the same music. Some people, I think, the Texans lean towards Texas Country, and the Red Dirt people are lean towards the Red Dirt thing. And but I feel like the Red Dirt is probably a little bit more predominant now as far as just describing the group of people that we run with.
Yeah, yeah. I just love that term. You
It's
know,
great.
yeah, and it's just because I like it because when like people are like, well, like what kind of country you like, or or anything, you just go, oh, red dirt, and it always follows up with, what's that?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
yeah, I love it because if you said Texas country, you know, somebody from the Northeast would be like, "Oh, so it's country, but it's Texan."
Yeah, you're from Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But red dirt, they're like, what's red dirt? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, and I just love, I just love like, I didn't like give anything up. I gained more like materialistic and just stories from red dirt. I always liked harder rock and like heavy metal,
Hmm.
and and with the Texas country and the red dirt, like I don't have to, you know, it, it's not all twangy Telecasters and
Hmm.
just my big issue with like the mainstream radio country was as a musician, when you hear like what's on the radio, you can hear the voice, and the voice is like way up front, and in the back is the band, and I hate struggling to hear the music.
Hmm.
And that's the one thing I love about your guys' stuff is it's just there's nothing like too drastic of a change. It's always
Right.
just kind of like not like the same. Obviously, you've grown as musicians and an artist and everything, but it's just always like you never have to struggle to hear any of the instruments, and your voice is very easy to hear, and you can also enjoy what the band's doing. And I just that is a huge part of me loving what guys like you do in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a big part of what all of us have kind of worked for is most of us are bands, whether your name's at the front or not, you all started pretty much as a band, and most of the people have stayed together long enough to where you want to continue that that original sound of a full band, and that that includes everybody. And that's why I feel like the producers that have worked with us and just us in general have worked really hard to make sure that that is the relevance is everybody can hear the bass and the drums and the guitars are a huge part of our band, our leads and just it's kind of I don't it's not really disappearing in the mainstream country right now, but it kind of is. I mean, I was listening to it the other day, and I was talking with my brother Willie, and we were both kind of going, "When's the last time you heard a country song on a country radio right now that had like it was driven by guitar, you know,
Yeah.
solos, intros, outros, like they all have their hook lines. That's all there. But like when was it like just in the middle of the song, a real guitar solo? And it's kind of getting eaten up with one more chorus, I feel like. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying what we do is a little bit more band like.
Yeah, I get that, and it's funny. Like it's so simple to describe it that way. I guess like as musicians, but when you tell somebody that because they'll ask, they're like, what's the deal? What's so much better? And I'm like, man, I always hate some. It's almost everything from you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
it's and I get it. A lot of people, I want to be positive. I want everybody to have a good time and keep it
Hmm.
like. But when when it comes down to it, like if you were to catch me off camera, off mic, and if you really asked me, you would just have to be like, all right, we're done. You can I could point out all just the things, and at the same time, and I get why people like what's on the radio. It's fun. It's
Hmm.
fun to be no matter how polluted you are, you you know the words.
Yeah,
It's fun to be in that atmosphere. And
absolutely.
I've said this story a couple times on these podcasts, and my buddy goes, "Yeah, who sings the final countdown?" I'm like, "Europe," and he goes, "Is there any other lyrics other than that?" I'm like, oh, "Yeah." And I get it. You probably only heard it, back in the day, riding
Right.
around with your buddies, just
Yeah.
partying and hanging out, and
Yeah.
I get that anthem stuff. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
Yeah, the whole Texas scene, it's so wildly different and so much more musical. And like I always said, like you can get something from the song. You can get therapy, you
Hmm.
know, and you had a bad relationship, or and like your one song, man, every time I get on and that light turns red, the lines of God,
Kandar.
Kandar, yeah,
Yeah.
shoot, that is when you listen to that, in that point of view, just like my God, like that's a story song. That'll
Yeah.
make you, really, like just don't even talk to yourself in your head. Just really
Yeah.
sit down and absorb that song and the feeling and then I also read that it took like 5 years for that to come about.
Yeah. That was my brother Gary. We met Major Rusty Bradley at a fundraiser, and he did, I think, five tours over there. And anyway, he wrote a book about it, and talked to Gary in depth about it a lot on the phone. And we both read the book that he wrote, and he got with Gary, was asking him if he could write a song for a movie that they were talking about making. And so anyway, Gary started writing the song, and he asked me if I could get in on it. I read the book, and then I had a kid, so I got busy, and Gary ended up finishing the tune up by himself, and it turned out so cool when we did it in the studio. Just the way that it the final finish, yeah, it'll give you goosebumps sometimes if you're sitting there listening to all the lyrics and then the music that's behind it with the helicopter part. And just there's a lot to that song that it gets requested a lot by a lot of people that have served, and they really appreciate it for the fact that it was really well written and wasn't just a song about going to war. It was really very in depth about uh, personal personal lives
Yeah,
and stories.
yeah, it definitely is. It's an intense, it's an experience when you really listen to it.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is. It's a great tune. It's one of my faves.
Do you guys do that live?
We do it probably about 3 or 4 times a year. It's not one that we pull out a lot, but it's it kind of requires keys, and we only have keys on the road about half the time out of the year. So when we do have keys on the road, it usually starts getting thrown in, but it gets requested a lot, and we really got to get keys on the road more.
Yeah,
But Gary has done it just solo too, or just him and me guitar and him singing, and but yeah, we were talking. Somebody was requesting it the other day, and Gary and I were just doing an acoustic show, so he did it, and afterwards he was like, "Man, we need to start working that one in more. Really gets a lot of eyebrows up." So I think it's reached a lot of people.
yeah, yeah. And I tell you, your new song "High Road," that song, it's what it reminded me of my one buddy. He was like, it just back in the day, he was a big drinker, and
Yeah,
he said you got to be careful. He's like a bass intro or a keys intro, like there was a Who song. He used to always that. He was like, you
yeah,
gotta be careful, man. Some of us are trying to go home at the end of the night, and I just I love it. And like Howard, it's like such a soft bass.
yeah,
I'm like that's probably exactly what he was talking about. That's the way how you do it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's David Beta produced that record, or this record, and yeah, we sat around, we talked about it quite a bit. We're like, should we drag it out that long before we start bringing? And he's like, let's give it a shot and see if we get bored with it. And if we do, then maybe we'll change some stuff up. And we ran it through one time, and then went in the booth and listened to it, and we were always like, nope, let's leave it there, and then we'll build off of that and see where we want to start bringing stuff in. But yeah, I don't know. I really love having the control over being able to do that.
Yeah.
By putting out records by ourselves and hiring our own producers and using our own engineers and studios. And I feel like you have full control over that kind of stuff, where I think a lot of, if you're record labels and stuff, they definitely, they want every song, whether it's a hit song, to have that chance. And it's like, well, that's not how you do it. You need it. No, it's way too long on the bass solo, or the bass on the intro. It's got, it's got to get something going on. But I feel like some of the greatest songs out there are just slow builds all the way in, and by the end of it, you're almost in a rock and roll anthem kind of a deal,
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, a true music lover and listener will listen to a 15-minute song.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like growing up with heavy metal. I don't think any song on Justice for All, Metallica,
right?
I think they're all at least 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's if it's if as long as it's all killer no filler.
Yeah.
And I hate like a producer or something. Some of them, they're paid to make the donuts. And they'll just be like, hey, don't bore us. Get us to the chorus.
Yeah.
Do that under 3:30. And
yeah.
I
remember that. Yeah. First time I was working with publicists and managers, and had all the people behind us and working on a record, and we were talking about same deal, producers, and they were saying hey, this, what are the songs you think are going to be your singles off of here? And we listed them off. They're like, all right, well, we need to keep them to maybe under 3.5. And I just remember my very first question was, why? And they were like, well, that's the kind of the set length of the songs that are played on the radio, they want them to be under 3.5. And I was like, what about Freebird? Yeah. I hear that from time to time,
Yeah, right.
But it is, I mean, you do fall into that, and you want to be able to fit into that, I guess, scene demographic or whatever, if you want to get your stuff played a ton. But I also feel like if the song is speaking for itself and people are liking it, like you were just saying, they'll listen to 7 minutes and feel like it was 3.
Yeah. Eventually, it's hey guys, you need to really trim down on this Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
We don't really get this part.
Yeah. For sure.
But like, it's cool. Like you said, like when you are independent and you can do what you want, and then you can hire producers that, instead of telling you like 3:30 is too long, you can get guys that are like, when they tell you, if you have a song that you really love and you keep rewriting, and they can be like, Micky, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, people that actually care about you, care about, the brand, instead of that angle of the business side and then keep the suits happy. They can be like, like, Micky, you're hoarding gold,
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, let's put this 7-minute song out. If you have all that to say, like.
Yeah, I know. I love having the control of that, and I really love having, we did a lot of songs. There's probably 3 on this last one that are pushing 5. That probably won't end up being singles, but at the same time, it was like, they're probably not going to be singles anyway. So let's just do them the way that we heard them, for how we want them to be done. And just having the leeway to be able to do that is fun, and it's really fun in the studio, because you can always go, all right, maybe we took it a little too far.
Yeah, and there's also it is cool because if there is a song that you really feel like it needs more, but it'll be proper for a record in a way of doing it, and you can always have the live version, and I like that too because also it gets your fans out to see you, and where they can buy merch and get the whole interaction, and yeah, it's cool when you do listen to a song, and then when you hear the lyrics, you're like, no, that's that song, and then I do appreciate when some bands they play different, and they're like in a different feels, and it just you're not playing to a click, and everything's just vibing. You're vibing off the crowd, and
Right. Yeah.
I've grown to appreciate that experience a lot more than seeing like the big box bands where you can just the crowd's going nuts and they want more, but it's like everything's on MIDI. Everything's controlled by this laptop. We have to do this or it won't sound right.
Yeah.
And like
no, that's not where the lights aren't doing that with everybody. So, it's like, or the pyrotechnics are going to hit right at this spot. So you guys need to be out, at this point. And I agree with that. There's, that's what's kind of fun when we do have keys out on the road with us. There's the set changes drastically just because I immediately just start throwing solos around to, and if we're having fun and we're rocking, I'll bounce back and forth to the guitar players, the piano player, back to the guitar player, back to the piano player, and then bring it all down to something real low that we normally don't do, and then we can bring it back up, and that is that's always a blast. Like that's kind of the funnest thing about having a band together for a long time is your tightness. You get so tight with everybody. The guys already kind of know what I'm going to do before I'm even calling it out. They know how the show is going. They know how the crowd's reacting to stuff, and they know I'm gonna push it. So that is always probably the funnest part for me as a lead guy to be able to call the shots on as I feel like I want to do it per song per night.
Yeah, and I love that. I love when like the lead singer will like lock eyes with the guy and be like, "Dude, do your thing," you know,
or give me two.
Jamming.
Yeah, beat the one you just gave me.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do to Pablo a lot, man. He'll be rolling on one, and at about halfway through, it'll be like, "You could beat that. Give me two."
Yeah,
and he'll go for it, and it's fun, man.
Dude, I got to hang out with Pablo when I was at Mile Zero. That dude, he just funny all the time.
Yeah, he's a cat, man.
Yeah, he's hilarious. It's funny. You guys came around out here.
Yeah.
And a local, I don't know if Bill told you the story, but like I went and I had my normal tailgate, but when I walked in, I was like holding myself off from falling off the floor. I was like, what is going on? Like, did I not eat? And the person I was with was like, there's this big dude standing behind us. And they're like staring at you. And I was like, oh man, just tell him to go around. And, like I woke up, I had to like go to work the next day, and I'm like, where am I? And it was like, hey, what happened last night? Blah, blah, you only had like 4 drinks, and I'm like, yeah. And she was telling the story. I was like, oh my god, it's Bill Corbin. She was like, some guy looked like Mr. Incredible was standing behind us and staring at. I was like, oh, it had to be Bill, because I don't know if I knew Bill was playing with you guys, and I was so upset because I have been dying to see you guys. Like at Mile Zero, I miss you guys at Mile Zero because that was my rookie year at Mile Zero, where like you really need, before you go to Mile Zero, is you need to like spreadsheet that and really find where you want to go. And it's a very small island, but Mile Zero can make it seem as big as Texas, because it's
I highly recommend the scooter.
Yeah.
I've been renting a scooter for years. We used to go play down there at the Hog's Breath when we were shit, probably 22 years ago. You know, we were pretty only a few years into the band, but we'd go and play the Hog's Breath, and we'd play for 5 hours a night, and uh, we do it for 7 nights straight, and we got to know the island pretty well. But we, like, right out of the gate, first year we were like, we can't afford scooters, you know, no way. And then the next year we went back, and I was like, I'll skip the eating part. I'm getting a scooter. And from then on, like, me and my brothers always get them when we're down there, and you can cover a lot more ground a lot faster, and you find your little sneaky spots to park them, and you can get into a you know, cruise over and catch at least half to 45% of the show that you're trying to see, and catch the end of one show and then jump on your scooter and haul ass over to the next place, and catch half the show and then jump on and go catch another half of another show. And yeah, if you're on the old feet, it's you got to have it mapped out pretty good.
Yeah, I definitely, scooter definitely would have been a game changer, because I was taking like the shuttle
right
from the hotel and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I talked to Gary at Ryan's, that because I couldn't remember, because I was like, no, I would have remembered if you would have introduced yourself, you know.
Well, Gary wasn't there this year.
No, this was last year.
Year before this year. Okay, yeah. Then you probably did talk to Gary.
I'm pretty sure it was him. That was a fun night. I don't think anybody remembered anything.
Yeah, that goes that way pretty quick down there.
Yeah. It was after the amp. I remember talking to him, and man, that was it. There was a lot of people there, like Stoney LaRue, Jamie Lynn Wilson, Wade Bowen. I was talking to everybody in the band of Heathens, and I was just like, it was a lot, and it was really cool to watch everybody go up and do karaoke and just come back out. And it was around the point where, like, for like that week, everybody there during the weekdays is there for Mile Zero, so they know everybody. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure it was one of those nights where, like, there was just people on the regular vacation. Like, what's the big deal with these people? And that blew my mind. I was like, man, you have no idea, like, how.
Yeah, it's like the first night, and the day after everything is over, a lot of us stay for an extra day, and a lot of us come in a day early, and we do the same thing in Colorado at Steamboat Music Fest, and that's the same deal. All the tourists that are not there for the festival are just like, what in the fuck is going on right now? Like, who are all
everybody
these guys?
Plays guitar on this mountain?
Yeah, who are all these guys exactly? And yeah, we're slowly taking over the mountain. We're slowly taking over the island. But it's pretty funny watching the people that have been there all week, and that's their last day or two, and they're just like, I've never seen anything like this. Like, there's just, everybody's a musician, and, you know, everybody's friendly, and everybody's friends with each other, and they're all jamming and running around, and it is fun to watch. And it's also kind of funny, because they, you know, they're like, well, how do we get tickets? And it's like, start for next year now.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun that, like, you know, they sell out pretty quick with both those fests. But there's a reason for that. It's a big, it's probably the funnest way to get to go mingle around and have a good time and see, is probably the majority of, if you're into the red dirt scene, you're going to see the majority of bands that you already know, and then learn a few new ones while you're there as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was great, because a lot of people are like, how do you meet all these bands? I'm like, go to Mile Zero. You'd be walking down an alley, and you see the neon lights, and you walk in, like, oh, there's Shane Smith.
Yeah.
It's like scattered all throughout. And it is cool, because, you know, I was surprised, like, Florida does host a lot of Texas country artists. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really cool. Like I didn't know that because a lot of time, like when people were like the guys that drove there that didn't fly, they're like, oh yeah, we're hitting here, we're hitting there, we're hitting,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw a lot of venues. That's actually like they're like kind of like their brand
Yeah.
of Texas artists. And I was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool. It still would be a lot nicer. If it was a little bit closer to Northeast, but you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, somebody hopefully eventually will kind of to move a little farther east for the same kind of thing. I mean, I've been noticing a lot more of the kind of the mid size bands, your Turnpikes and Shane Smith. Those guys they're all touring out here more than about 2 or 3 times a year now, which is a lot more than back in the day. It was kind of a one time through kind of deal, and we're 1 or 2 times a year for us. And but yeah, it's hopefully it seems to be taken off with the folks around here a lot more. I think people are catching on to it, and I hope it keeps catching on because I live in Boston, so
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
it sure would be nice to just not have to get on a plane.
How'd you end up in Boston?
My wife is she's from here,
Okay.
small town out by Framingham, so we're about 25 out of town. But yeah, she's from here, and we met in Idaho at our festival that me and my brothers and my family put on called the Braun Brothers Reunion. And she came out to that with her aunt and uncle, and I'd met her aunt and uncle for known them for years. And anyway, we met there, and then I'd never been to Maine, so I flew up here to see her, and she took me up to Maine so I could check Maine off the list, and then I'd been to every state in the United States. So that was, and then we just stayed together. It was,
So Maine was the last one you never been to?
Maine was the last one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did them all. But so now we go up to Maine all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're right there. Maine's beautiful.
I love Maine. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that was definitely like I always wanted to be at like a bar that's like out in the water where the waves hit it. I think it was like Wild Orchard Beach or something up there.
Yeah,
I was like, man, because you think up north like snow,
yeah,
and everything, and then you find out like New Hampshire, they have like one of the highest registered amount of motorcycles, and you go out and like the scenery and the roads are just beautiful. Even like around like New York, you see New York City, you're like, oh, then you go out to like the Palisades Highway, and you're like, oh my god. But yeah, I used to every other weekend work in Boston, and
nice.
it's a cool city. A lot of history, a lot of like. I always like when the Texas artists come up and they're like, "Man, this stuff's old." I'm like, "Yeah, this is the start of
Hello.
the U.S." Yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm like delivered like when they come to Philly and they're like, "Yo, where's the best cheesesteak?" And I'm like, "Man, you're at the birthplace of America. Like the Liberty Bell's there. They signed all these important papers over here, and you're and." I was like, dude, like the bricks and everything, and I love. It was like the first time, like I'd been to. My family was from Boston, and my dad used to drive up all the time when I was younger, and I don't really remember it, but he stopped because he fell asleep driving back home, and and almost wrecked the car. So we kind of stopped going up there, and just going back up, and when I was older, and I was just walking around. And it just was like, I'm in Harvard. Like, like in my mind, I thought Harvard would be this big gated community and prestige. And I'm like, nope, here I am. Can't do math. Walking down the streets of Harvard.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. It's such a cool city with so much great history. But like you say, it's funny, everybody's got their little things that they hear about the states and just everywhere. People are always kind of laughing at me about like, so what was it such a big deal to you for you to go to every state? And I was like, man, they're like, why wouldn't you want to go somewhere else? Like, over to Europe or, anywhere, and I was like, well, I've been to a lot of those places too, but, like, I think people that live in our country are missing out on a lot of shit that
Yeah.
is really, really cool. That's right pretty much in your wheelhouse of a 2 hour flight or a 4 hour drive or a 3 hour drive. I mean, a lot of people don't even really go study their own state very much, and
Yeah.
there's gorgeous parts of pretty much every one of them. I'm come to find out, and just kind of depends on what you like, I guess. But I don't know. I just really love every state that I've been in. I've found a little honey hole everywhere I've gone.
Yeah. Like you said, there's beauty in every state, and it expands your mind. Like there's some people like they've never left their like block or anything, and
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
it's just so weird, and that's what just gives people like they just can't look down the line. I think they just like I'm gonna grow up and I'm gonna be buried right down there with the rest of all my other family right down the road. We're gonna go to that same building. We're gonna eat there, and it's just and you can get really locked in your views, especially if your views aren't worldly or
hmm
and you go out and you just realize like especially like in this country, this man, it's big compared.
huge.
Yeah, you go to Europe, you get on the train and hit countries
Yeah,
like here, especially in Texas. You're gonna be spending half a day,
hmm
even more than one day, just in one state. Just in your well, if you drive to California and if you want to go up, you got to
yep,
drive even more
yeah,
up there. It's
yeah,
a gigantic landmass.
yeah. And that's doing 80 miles an hour and not stopping. You know, it's like if you cruising along and you have the time to where you can. I mean, you're obviously not going to stop off at every world's largest ball of twine along the way, but if you can hit some of the big ones and then some of the smaller ones or whatever it is you're interested in, I don't know. That's what I like to do, and people ask me that all the time too. Like, if you ever get off the road for long periods of time when you're older, what do you think you're going to do? And I was like, man, I honestly kind of want to get in a camper and go travel across the United States and stop and stay as long as I want to stay where I want to stay. Because
Yeah,
we always are on a schedule. It's like you pretty much have to, you know, get a couple days here and there every once in a while. But for the most part, luckily we've been touring long enough. We've got to see what a good majority of it. But at the same time, there's a lot of them. I'm like, gosh, I'd love to stay here for 3 days and just keep tinkering around.
yeah. Do you have a number one spot you can think of?
Man, I really can't off the top of my head. Uh, I, I everywhere really has different.
Yeah,
I love the Midwest. I love the East Coast. I love the West Coast. I love the Rockies. Just everywhere. I got my favorites. So it's kind of like pick your. If you're on a desert island, you got 5 songs. It's like
yeah,
it's pretty hard to choose because there's so many great ones all over.
yeah. And some places, man, it's like so beautiful, and you're just looking out, and just man, sometimes I'll have like an intense like sadness, and just be like, man, everywhere in this country used to look like this, and
Yeah,
some of these places like
yeah,
we put malls on it, we put you
yeah,
know what I mean, and it's just
yeah.
like wow,
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I love Idaho, and I love Colorado, Montana, and the western states, Wyoming. All of those places have a lot of ground that is uh, you know still open to the public, and the national forests and stuff like that you can go and still get to ramble around, and it's really cool that that stuff got kind of sanctioned off so you can do that, and you know that's and then it's also a lot of private property that people were smart enough to scoop it up when they had the chance, and it's just really like you're saying, it's so different from you know where everything's going from concrete your whole life to going out there and just, driving for hours and passing 3 cars.
Yeah.
It's very different. But a lot of people don't like that either. They get scared of the idea of the isolation, and I understand that too. But I love it personally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, like you said, like when you see a mountain range and you're like, that's like 3 days out. It's just how flat some places can be.
Yeah. I know. I always think about it like, man, could you imagine coming across this country on a horse, or or with a wagon? Like how long this would take, and just the different shit, because the roads aren't here, and you're figuring it out. It always just is running through my brain. Oh my God, this must have just been a miserable time.
Yeah, no infrastructure. Yeah,
none.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna walk the horses in the wagon through this river.
Yeah. How far to the next town? What's a town?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's just like you think, like how huge the railroad was.
Oh yeah. Amazing.
And then just still think like they're like, man, this train, man, we're gonna get here in a quarter of the time, but man, these pesky buffalo.
Yeah.
And then on that note, you're like, oh God.
Yeah. We didn't know it was gonna snow all winter.
That's funny. Now, do you like, when you go to write, is isolation where you really thrive, or are you just?
Not really at all. No, I like to write in different places. Sometimes I'll set up some writing get-togethers with some friends about once or twice a year, and sometimes it's at a nice country club that we rent out a nice casita kind of thing, and then golf in the afternoon, and then write at night kind of deal. And sometimes we'll get a cabin in the mountains, and sometimes we'll go to a more of a ocean type deal. I went down to the Cape a couple of years ago and wrote a bunch with my buddy Jeff Crosby, and that's great, but I don't really know how to describe it. If the writing is working in my brain, it doesn't really matter where I am.
Right.
But the isolation part is more for me. Interruptions. I do need to be able to shut the phone off and not be interrupted, because if I get rolling on something, then any small distraction can just completely, take me off course. And it's like, oh, where was I on that? And then I don't know. It's a weird thing. Sometimes a lot of people are really good at just getting right back on the horse, and they're like, all right, I was right here. This is where we were. For me, it's not the case. I have to write things down. If I think of an idea, I got to write it down on the spot. And I always think in my head, like, I'll never forget that line. That is such a great line. And hour later, she gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking. Like, even when you're driving,
mm-hmm.
like the billboards move now. There's so much distraction.
There really is. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just a text message or whatever it is. You look at your phone real quick and then go back to your pen and paper, and you're like,
yeah.
I had
it. Even the signs that are supposed to tell you, like, oh, there's a traffic jam up here. Now they're even telling you jokes.
Yeah.
It's everywhere you look, you're like, oh, that's funny.
The church signs are telling you jokes.
Yeah. Everywhere. And it's so, everything's so distracting. Because I always, like, I'll pride myself of being like, I put my phone away. And then when you drive and you're looking at a gigantic iPad screen.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's just like nonstop. It's just, man, it's.
Yeah. I know it's funny. it's wild how if you can, or if you go through a stretch of you know, a part of the country that your phone doesn't work for 2 hours, the first hour of it, you're so frustrated that your phone's not working, that you're not even paying attention to all the cool shit that's going by. And then you finally settle into the fact that your phone's not working, you get comfortable, and then your phone starts working again. You're like, ah, damn it. Now I got to answer all these stupid questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Now, with this new record, did you go in with like a main theme, or just the songs, just how they came?
No, we just picked away at a pile of songs. We threw probably, I think we had 18 to 20 songs that we kind of had stacked up that both Gary and I had written, and we just got with Dave, our producer, and just said, "Hey, Beta, let's start working through these and see which ones are going to fit together as far as, you know, tempo wise, and just everything. How many slow ones we got? How many fast ones? How many rockers? How many mid rockers? You know." So you got to pick through them that way, and then how many love songs? How many breakup songs? You have to go through all of that to where you're not just dumping the same thing on top of one another. And so that's. But I guess to answer your question, no, it wasn't built around a theme. It was more built around which tunes out of the pile went together the best. And we had, I think, three extra ones on there, which we kind of like to do, either have three to five. So if they're the ones that we were kind of more set on started not really panning out the way we were hoping them to in the studio, we could just go, let's shelf that one for hopefully, the next record or two records down the road, whenever. But it's not a throwaway, but it's just not working.
Yeah.
So I always like to have a few in the bag.
Yeah, it's weird how like a song, even though you wrote it, even though you may not even wrote it for the time that it's in, but a song has a time for it to be released, if that makes any sense. It's just really, it's really weird how there's a whole, like, I would say science, but it's so unpredictable. It's like chaos, chaos theory of, like, you could probably go back and find a song that you just love and it didn't do well, and for some reason you can just be like, you know what, I'm just gonna put it back out, and it would do fantastic.
Yeah,
you've done, like, even if you didn't like advertise on it, or it's really weird how that. Have you ever had that happen where like you woke up and one of your old songs that just for some reason just got picked up and just started going crazy?
We've had that happen a couple of times, and it's funny how, obviously with people filming you at live shows and stuff, certain things will pick up quicker now, and then just like, all of a sudden everybody wants to hear a song from our third record, that we just, it's like, okay, why is this all of a sudden the one? But I don't know whether it's the summer is coming on and everybody, it's a party song, or if it's the winter time coming on and everybody wants something a little more melancholy, or I don't know. It's definitely something that I haven't been able to master. Otherwise, I'd be doing it the right way every time.
Yeah. Now, is there a song in your catalog that if you just had to just touch it with the golden wand, is there one that you just would really want?
Yeah, I think that, like, there's a song called "Once in a Lifetime Girl" that I wrote with Johnny Chops from Randy Rogers' band, and we put it on a record, and we didn't release it as a single. And I for whatever reason, it's I don't know why we didn't, but it definitely surprises me. I go out at the end of a lot of shows for the encore. I'll just go out and I'll play that one just by myself, and then bring the band out to finish out the night with a couple more. But it blows my mind how it's everybody, not everybody, but the majority of the crowd is just immediately singing along. and I don't know why it never resonated with me as a song that would be single worthy or whatever. It's just kind of a slow ballad love song. And anyway, it's I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, God, should we recut this and make it a single down the road? Because it really does. I don't know. It reaches people in some way that I didn't realize it would, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting how you can put something out there and so some people just gravitate towards something, you know, not that you obviously you love all your songs, and that's just how people just grab it. And it, like you said, if you knew how to do it and how to really make people listen, especially if it's something that like that you really want people to love. It's because it's funny because a lot of people would be like, well, you can make anybody love anything with money, and it's like a certain group of people, but people that you would want to really love your music. That's an, you know, I would say like these people, they're like Terminators. They can't be bought. They can't be reasoned with. You know,
Right.
they want what they love. Like, especially like getting in the country. Like, I get why people get so like, you know, when they be like, you never listen to this, you never do that, and I'll be like, man, why are you getting so mad? And it's just real, and I just realized like these people have been like riding in, you know, pickup trucks with their dad or their mom, and it's the soundtrack of their lives. So here I am, because you know, like with people's favorite bands and legends, like to me, they're like, yeah, I love their music, but I don't have that like stamped in my DNA. But but those type of fans, like with the Texas Current, like I really love, like they won't be fooled by something else. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, it's not gonna be like, hey, you wanna go see this band? But Micky and the Motorcars is playing down here. They're always gonna choose Micky and the Motorcars.
Yeah.
You know. Great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like I don't know if it's worked for us. It's worked for us in a lot of ways, but it's, you know, it's probably worked against us in a lot of ways too. But just writing relatable stuff is, and not doing it genuinely on purpose is, you know, I've never written to like really, you know, I guess I've never been great at trying to write to captivate a particular audience for a certain, you know. I mean, I've tried to write. I'm always trying to write a hit. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, but to be able to actually do it the way that, you know, people that write, you know, for, you know, that's all they do is write songs every day. I haven't had very much success with that. I've always been more of a write from the heart, kind of off the sleeve, or if it's a topic that I'm interested in, kind of thing. But I've never really been good at just, you know, sitting down with somebody that has a different topic that I don't know anything about, and being able to help out in any way whatsoever. It's like, it's not this is not my alley. So I, like I say, if I maybe paid a little bit more attention to what's going on in mainstream, I might be doing a little bit better. But at the same time, I just feel like I wouldn't be writing what I want to write.
Yeah, because like I'll tell people, I'm like, every artist, because when people are like, well, it's just something like, if they were really good, why aren't they this? Why aren't they that? I'm like you could write an absolute top 40 song. You would have to sell yourself out, but there's no way that you couldn't sit down and be like, we all kind of know the formula, you know?
Sure.
And just put one out, you know? Just there's an algorithm, you see it, and you replicate it. You put the formula, and the gears roll, you know?
Yeah.
you get Bill Corbin
Sure.
on the hood of a GTO.
Yeah, Billy Bill,
You
come
know,
on.
like,
Yeah,
it-
yeah, yeah. It's fun to write, but it is like my most, like, as far as like outside of our band, successful song was a song I wrote with Parker McCollum, and but same deal. It was way before he was playing at the Saxon Pub to like 9 people when I met him, and he was playing after Jason Eady, and Jason said, "Hey, listen to this guy. Have you heard of him?" And I said, "No." And so Jason and I were sitting there having some drinks and listening to him and shooting the breeze. And after the show, I just introduced myself and asked him if he was writing the songs that he was singing. He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, man, if you ever want to write, let's get together and write." And he said, he goes, "I'm free tomorrow." And I go, "Cool, man. I'm at home tomorrow if you want to come by." So it came by, and we wrote that tune, and then he recorded it, put it on his record, and then slowly started climbing the ladder in his world. And like I say, that song has been the most downloaded song that I've ever written. But at the same time, it wasn't because I was sitting down to do it on purpose. It was just writing a song.
That's cool how those stories are. Just like just happen to be there. It's
it's pretty cool. But
Dick,
go ahead.
Because now he prior to hearing any Texas country or liking any, I had heard his song Pretty Heart,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, man, it's funny is I was listening to it and I was like, I just remember being like, I didn't realize it was country, and I was like, man, this reminds me of kind of like emo.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to listen to like His Infernal Majesty all the time. And I was like, like him, and I'm like, man, it's like, I was like, that's a cool song, and people were, and then it just kind of like went away, and then going down, and I'm like, oh wow, he's a Texas guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just crazy how like I'll always tell, like it's just like just a curtain. And it's always like frustrating because like you see more and more followers on TikTok, and it's like, man, it's like the whole thing was, like I just wanted to try to like, I wanted to like make a video that had like 10,000 views.
Yeah.
And it was just views, and just why not? And it didn't matter what it was for.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes to find out, like, there's an entire like, I love music. And if you would have ever asked me what don't I listen to, I would tell you probably country and like hardcore, like Christian music, like with the lyrics are all the same.
Sure.
But like, it was weird because it's like, what is going on? These are actually like songs. These are stories. And it's done different. The guitars, it doesn't sound like it's all like the cookie cutter. Let's get as close as to the clipping point we can. There's no like, there's no peaks or valleys, and I just loved how everything was recorded, and like the jam, the groove, like Cody Cannon and what you guys do. It's awesome. And I don't lose anything. Like it's not like there's a steel guitar here because, hey, that's what worked before. It's everything is just like guys went in to write what they found to be true. And when people told them you shouldn't do it like that, it was done just out of a really pushing people towards wanting to be better, not to push more units out. Mm-hmm. And I just love how everybody has their own characteristics where you can hear like, man, I think that guy plays like a Mesa. I think he plays a Fox.
Yeah.
And even the pedal steels all sound different with like different things. It's just really cool. Like I never, it still blows my mind that like, it's funny is like, I don't really like hyphenating and over genre everything, but like when people say, "Oh, you're a country music fan," I'll be like, Texas country. It doesn't have to, from people from Idaho, Arkansas,
Right.
The red dirt, and Oklahoma, and all that. It's just, and if because being from like in like Boston, like does it blow your mind like up here in the Northeast for like people? It's just like if they had heard it, they probably would love it because there's a lot of people like walking around like how I was, just thinking what you thought of country was what you hear on the airwaves, and it's so much more than that.
No, absolutely. It's yeah, it's interesting to me because I have a couple stations up here that are Boston country stations, and I got my rock stations and my stuff that I keep on my 5 or 6 channels that I have there on my car. But it's just when I'm cruising around here, I bounce around. But it surprises me how frequently whatever is popular, it's like I want to say like every 7 or 8 songs, the same song comes on again. It's like, I mean, it blows my mind how often a hit is being played. Like, and maybe it's been that way for a long time, and I just haven't listened to the radio very often for a while or something. But man, I'll tell you what, every out of the 3 stations that I have on my radio, just bouncing around, it's about every 6th or 7th song, that song comes on again. That song comes on again. That song comes on again between those 3 stations, and it's just like, holy shit!
Yeah,
that is
it's
wild.
It's like, is it intentional? Because like,
it's
honest.
Bravo to those people, but I mean, it's like, wow, how do you guys find new people? All you're playing is the same shit.
It's so frustrating. And some people listen to it and that's their thing. That's what they love. But then there's other people that listen to it and they're just totally I'm not listening to this. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's it's unfortunate for a lot of people, because if they don't like that particular style of country, should we call it, then that's the broad spectrum of what country is to them. So when someone says country, that's immediately where their brain goes. They go, I don't like country. And it's like, well, maybe you do. Maybe you just don't know yet. Like, because I don't listen to a ton of mainstream country, other than popping around here in town just to hear what's going on and whatnot. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of, when I think of country, I think of Merle Haggard. Like that's where my brain goes, because I think of country like where my country that I grew up with, was Lefty Frizzell and people that most people haven't even heard of, but I also think of country. I think of Guy Clark, and I also think of Robert Earl Keen, and they have their songwriters and their poets, and but they they grasp both. There's a lot of country in that, and I don't know. I think I guess what I'm getting at is the genre country is a lot broader than what a lot of people think about. They just kind of get pinpointed on something, because I listen to a lot of country. Most of the country that's out now, I would probably say that's pop to me. I mean, it's real poppy, but it doesn't mean it's not country. It's still in the top of the charts. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying it's a broad world.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Is there an up and coming band that you've like taken under your wing, or you really think?
Man, I wouldn't by any means say we've taken them under our wing, but one of the bands that have been watching and listening to is a band called Wilder Blue, and
Oh,
they're a really
dude.
cool band.
They're
Like I
so
say,
good.
they're I've known all of the guys in that band before they formed the band, and but anyway, they're the guys right now that are kind of have been together for, I don't know, 5 years, 5 6 years now, maybe more, maybe less.
That-
I'm not 100% on that, but they they definitely are the ones that I've been impressed with the most and listening to a lot.
oh,
They just,
yeah.
I don't know, they got their own their vibe going on that's different from, sets them aside from everybody else within our scene, and it's a real cool deal that they're doing.
Yeah. I got to see them. I went to the Troubadour Festival in Texas, and man, I was like, man, that banjo player is really good. And then he pulled up like a resonator and started playing slide. I was like, that's just not fair to be that good. And like the guitar player and Zane and their harmonies, I was just like, because like for me, like harmonies, like Shane Smith and the Saints and like Midnight River Choir, like I love that type of harmony. And I was just like, oh, this is this is amazing.
Yeah, it is. It's real deal. They're great. They're really good at what they do, and it's not piped in, and it ain't done messed around with on a keyboard. That's for sure. That's raw talent. They're just really good.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, they were pretty amazing because I'd heard them on the record, and to hear it replicated like that in just real time, just when the sound hits you like that, it's just like wow. And this, same like this is what should be, played 7 or 8 times in a row.
Yeah,
like a rodeo girl and rodeo,
right,
and all that.
Yeah.
I love it, and it's just I hope, man, I hope it just gets that big.
Yeah, well,
like you said, like there's a couple of honky tonks down in down around Fenway. I'm pretty, what was Loretta's man, I can't remember that bar. They have some good country acts that go through there.
Yeah. The City Winery brings through a lot of Texas people. They have no genre at that place. It's anything from, it's a corporate joint, but they do bring through a lot of my pals throughout the year. I keep an eye on that place for when people are coming through. I just played there the other day with Chris Knight. I went down and got up and played a few tunes before his show and hung out for a while. But I keep my eye out for people like that. Alejandro Escovedo just came through a couple weeks ago, and I don't know. There's always people on our radar that are friends and sit right in the wheelhouse.
Yeah,
and
the more they can come up northeast, the better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the hardest. That's the hardest part. Is Texas to East Coast is it's a lot of gas.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
But I've been trying to do more acoustic things around here a little bit more often when other bands are coming through. Either jump up and do a 30-minute opening spot, or just to stay kind of a little more relevant around here without having to have the cost of bringing the whole band up, and at the same time, the people that know me and know the other bands still are, they're excited that I'm opening the show. They're just like, well, when are you bringing the band? It's like, oh, we're coming. We always do, but this is a little filler. This is the matinee.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's nice. People start seeing you around town, and word of mouth still is a thing.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Next thing you know, in one of the 50 Dunkin' Donuts, you might hear Micky and the Motorcars on the radio.
Never know, man. Never know.
Dude, I always thought that was like an over exaggeration, and I'd be like, okay, this Dunkin' Donuts is closed, and you look across the street, and there's another one people are going in and out of. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
SNL wasn't lying.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when Starbucks, same deal. It's like,
Yeah,
Jesus, holy shit, there's one on every
yeah,
corner. Well,
yeah.
if this one's
And
too busy, I'll go to the other one.
yeah, and 7-Elevens. There's a lot of 7-Elevens. That's where I
There
went.
it is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're
But
everywhere.
yeah, it's the one time I went up there. There was this group of guys. They were just and not like riffing it, but they were just kind of like playing like I hate to say like trash. It was like stomp, and they were just doing a little bit of music thing. And I was like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And they introduced themselves as the Chunkies Behind Donkeys. Like,
That's a
all
pretty good
right,
name.
yeah. And I'm fine. The commons are right there. This,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be taken for my phone or anything. But I was like,
Oh,
all
I know.
right.
I know which Duncan you're behind. I've been in that alley.
Yeah, yeah,
Right
yeah,
across from
yeah.
Fenway.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's over the bridge, going the back door in the commons there. Yeah.
Yeah. The Chunkies Behind
The
Donkeys.
Chunkies Behind Donkeys. That's great.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, man, I need to get rocking and rolling and get the little one down here pretty quick.
All
But
right, dude.
I've had a
Thanks for
blast.
jumping on.
No, absolutely. I've had so much fun, man.
Yeah,
A blast. We should do it again.
oh, dude, absolutely. And I promise I will see a Micky and the Motorcars show.
Yeah. Well, you got my number, so anytime you're coming out, or if we're in the any neck of the woods, you want to come out, just shoot me a line. Love to
Yeah, man.
have you on the list and come hang out with us.
Yeah, definitely. Love to hang out with you guys. But yeah, man. Thanks for jumping on and enjoy the rest of your night, man.
Absolutely, man. You too.
Thanks,
Talk to you
bud.
soon. Bye.
Mm-hmm.